Hello, Star Wars Beyond the Films listeners. This is Nathan from the show. You can find the show at StarWarsReport.com. I'm going to be taking a look here at different products from the X-Wing line, the X-Wing miniatures game from Fantasy Flight Games. As we go through, there are essentially 5 products released right now. We have the core game itself, which is what we're going to be looking at here. You can find it in a box that looks like this. You can buy it online. These are also available now at Target stores, although not the expansions, just the starter set so far. There are also 4 expansion sets, as this little advertisement points out. We're going to be hitting them each in turn in the order in which they were produced, because that makes at least a little bit of a difference in terms of some numbering on some of the items that go with it. I apologize for the shakiness. I'm just trying to hold this as we go along here. So, this is all just the core set. Holy crap, that's a lot of stuff. Should be, I guess, though, because at full price, this package is $40. So what do you have in this? From a paperwork standpoint, you have your rules of play. That's the core rules for everything, not counting, I guess, the Ion Cannon, because that has to have its own special rules with the Y-Wing expansion set. You have essentially a quick little booklet of upcoming releases, including the X-Wing releases. It mentions all their different expansions. You have the expansion breakdown here, which is essentially just a little one-sheet. And for those just starting out, we have your quick start rules. So you have quite a bit of documentation here. Now, what else do we have here that is unique to this set? Unique to this set, we have our different maneuver tracks here, okay? Essentially, these are maneuver guides. Anytime your ship makes a maneuver, these things are put up against the front of their base, and then you move the ship so that the back of it is touching the other side, and that's how you know that you've moved the right amount. We have turns, notice by the right angle there. We have essentially banks, as they're curving one direction but not necessarily turning. And then we have our ones that are basically there for straight shots or for quick turnarounds. Here, we have the dice. Now, these are sort of exclusive in the sense that right now the extra dice pack has not been produced yet. That was something that was delaying a lot of the pre-orders. So for now, you start with 3 attack and 3 defense dice, although you can pick up another pack, and that would essentially be just what you're seeing here, not counting little edges of stuff off to the side. Just 6 dice, 3 of each. This is actually an extra little piece. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be in there. It's an extra little piece to put together your maneuver dials, which you do have to punch out of cardboard and then attach together. So I wound up with an extra one in there, not sure if it's supposed to be there. Also, just for this set, this is your range ruler. In theory, you use the green side for the Empire and the red side for the Rebellion, but really, I mean, it's the same distance. It's just something to make it kind of look neat, because of course in the films a lot of times you saw different colors for the weapons of either side before they actually made them out to mean anything in terms of what on earth was the difference between these blasts. You have your proof of purchase that gets punched out in this case rather than just being something that is on paper. We have the different target lock tokens. Now, these are somewhat exclusive in the sense that their letters go from A, they're basically 2 sides, so A and B is on one, C and D is on one, all the way up through K and L. We will find as we go through the different expansion sets that any ones that do have target lock tokens pick up where this one leaves off, so there are no repeated letters. We also here, from an exclusivity standpoint, have some scenarios inside the starter rules of play that describe different situations other than just standard butt kicking. Like you might have to protect a shuttle and such, or you might have things in your way like asteroids. So we have some unique markers in this set for those types of unusual scenarios, such as this Senator's Shuttle token. We have different asteroids, with one much larger, to use within play as obstacles. We also have these little satellite tokens for one of the scenarios, and little tracking tokens, not to be confused with target lock. Very different. These are used for one of the scenarios. Again, if numbers can make a difference in exclusivity, here we have the different ship ID tokens. You'll find here there's 3 each. You put 1 on the front and 1 on the back of each ship's stand, and then you put 1 next to their card. If you have ships out there that are of the same type, you want to make sure you know which cards go with which. In this case, we have sets 1 through 9. Again, as we'll see as we go through the different expansion sets, they will continue there starting with 10, so you don't have any duplicated numbers. Now, beyond this, we have one more quick exclusive, and that is your damage cards. Your damage cards here are shown just with a regular boom for regular damage, but if you get a critical hit, you flip it over, like in this case, direct hit, and then you go by whatever it says on the card as opposed to simply going as regular damage. What you also have here, as my fingers are smacking everything because I can only use one hand, are your 5 upgrade cards. Now in this case, some of this is exclusive, some of this is not. Determination, Proton Torpedoes, and Marksmanship do appear in other expansion sets. However, R2-D2 is exclusive to this set for now, as is R2-F2. Alright, from the standpoint of our ships, we have 2 TIE Fighters, 1 X-Wing, with their respective maneuver dials. Nothing unusual here. They each have their regular stand. They have the 2 prongs that you can put them onto for the different height levels. Nothing unusual here compared to the expansions, because you can get each of these by themselves in an expansion set. They are a little bit flimsy, but I found that they're sturdy enough to handle just regular moving around. You just don't want to be too rough with these things. Now, then comes the pilots. And the pilots are what make this set different than, say, buying just a bunch of expansions. First off, you have your pilot cards, quite a few of them in this case, and then for each you have to have your little ship tokens that go underneath. They actually attach to these bases here to let you know which pilot is with which ship. Another way to identify them in case, let's say, you have maybe 2 rookie pilots, that's when you were to break out these, but otherwise you can just use the names on the bases. You notice here you have 6 of them for the Empire. They're essentially identical, because you might wind up using a generic pilot, like, say, Obsidian Squadron pilot. So you got, say, Dark Curse on one side, Obsidian Squadron pilot on the other, but on the off chance that you're using both, you've got another one for Dark Curse with Obsidian pilot. Then you have here Night Beast with Academy pilot on the back, and you have, wow, this is really hard to do the way that I'm holding this, Mauler Mythal with Black Squadron pilot on the back there. Here you have Biggs Darklighter with Rookie pilot on the back, Luke Skywalker with Red Squadron pilot on the back. Now as for your cards, some of these are exclusive, some of these are not. You probably noticed there with some of the pilots that I named. You start out with Luke Skywalker, exclusive to this set, as is Biggs Darklighter, 2 X-Wing pilots. There are 2 other X-Wing pilots that you can get elsewhere, however, in the X-Wing expansion set. Then you have, a lot of glare on these things, Rookie pilot and Red Squadron pilot, both also found in the X-Wing expansion. For the Imperials, you have Mauler Mythal, Dark Curse, and Night Beast. These are exclusive to this set. There are other TIE Fighter pilots. You will find them in the TIE Fighter expansion set. Bear in mind, of course, they're all locked by the type. So this is TIE Fighter and X-Wing. You cannot use, say, the X-Wing pilots on a Y-Wing. You cannot use a TIE Fighter pilot on a TIE Advance. Those are different ships, different expansion sets. They use different pilot cards. Then we get to our generics. We have Academy pilot, we have Obsidian Squadron pilot, and we have Black Squadron pilot. You'll find that Academy pilot tends to be just in this set, if I'm recalling correctly, whereas you will find Obsidian and Black Squadron pilots within the TIE Fighter expansion. Again, this is a lot of material here for your $40. You have everything that you need to play. If you were to pick up just the expansions, you're kind of stuck. Okay. Oh, I guess I should mention here we have 3 stress tokens, 3 critical hit tokens, 4 evade tokens, 3 focus tokens, and 2 shield tokens there, because you only have the X-Wing, and the X-Wing has a shield rating of 2. So you'd only need those 2 shield tokens here. But looking across here, if you were to just buy the expansions, you would not be able to play. You wouldn't have any maneuver templates whatsoever. You could still use, other numbers or use other target lock icons. You would still have at least some of the other tokens to go with it, but you would just kind of be stuck when it comes to your dice, unless you get the dice app, your maneuver dials, and your damage cards, and your range ruler. So from the standpoint of being able to play X-Wing, do not pick up just the expansions. You will not be able to play. However, there are some people who say, well, I just want to pick up 2 of the starter set because I'll get 1 X-Wing, 2 TIE Fighters, as opposed to buying, say, an extra TIE Fighter or 1 extra X-Wing in, say, maybe an expansion set. Well, if you were to do that, you would still get the same number of ships and the same number of different maneuver dials, but the issue would be that you would not necessarily have multiples of some of these different upgrade cards. You also would be sticking with just people in here. So, to rephrase that, because I think I got myself a little bit lost there in my phrasing, if you were to just pick up 2 starter sets, instead of picking up a TIE and an X-Wing expansion. Okay, you'd be dealing with not getting, say, Wedge, for instance, or Merrick Steele, or I guess it's not Merrick Steele, one of the other pilots for the Imperials that come in the TIE Fighter set. Yeah, you get a lot more stuff for getting 2 starter sets than getting a starter and 2 expansions, which is a little bit cheaper, but you're not going to wind up being able to use it quite as much because it's not like you're going to have 2 Luke Skywalkers out there playing at the same time. If you want Wedge, you got to get the expansion, for example. Personally, I would recommend, at this point, doing kind of like I did if you want to do a lot of play and have things sort of even between Rebel and Imperial sides. Pick up 1 starter and 1 of each of the expansions. Again, we'll look at them each in turn, but we have an X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Y-Wing, and TIE Advanced expansion. We will look at each as we go along here and what comes inside each one. I'll also be putting together a basic video of what your different ships will look like as you are fighting, and a little bit on how the fighting mechanics actually work. For now, again, the X-Wing Miniatures Game Starter Set, $40 when it comes to the retail price. You can find it cheaper at places like miniaturemarket.com. Hopefully this is giving you some idea of what kind of cool stuff you get in a set like this as a tie-in to our Star Wars Beyond the Films coverage of Fantasy Flight Games' new game materials. Thank you for listening, and of course you can check out the show at StarWarsReport.com. We'll be back with the X-Wing expansion set.